Imagine a place that tells a story spanning centuries, where culture and nature intertwine to create something truly extraordinary. That's the beauty of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I'm Abigail, and this is Global Treasures, the podcast that covers the history, travel tips, and legends surrounding one of the 1,248 World Heritage Sites each episode. These places have been identified as having universal cultural or natural significance that is so exceptional that it transcends national boundaries and is of importance to present and future generations. Welcome to Season 3. Together, we'll explore the 27 sites that UNESCO added in 1980. Thank you for listening to Global Treasures. I appreciate all of your support, and you can continue to support us by subscribing at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, or whatever platform you're listening from. You can also follow me on TikTok and Facebook. I'd also be incredibly grateful if you would leave a 5-star review if you like what you hear. Today, we're exploring one of the most powerful testaments to resilience and urban heritage in Europe, the Historic Center of Warsaw. This UNESCO World Heritage Site houses a story of both destruction and rebirth, of people refusing to let history be forgotten. For centuries, the heart of Poland's capital has carried the weight of political power, cultural identity, war, and loss. Today, we'll walk through its historic facades and cobblestone streets, because under those stones lies a story as old as time. The country of Poland itself has about 38.5 million residents, with over 30% of the land being forested. Geographically, the historic center lies in the city of Warsaw, in east-central Poland. More specifically, within the neighborhood historically known as Old Town. Warsaw sits beside a river. The river and the Old Town create a contrast: water and stone, movement and something permanent. The historic center is a mix of stone architecture, narrow alleys, market square plazas, and historic fortifications, all carefully preserved or reconstructed. It was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage Site list due to an outstanding example of near total reconstruction covering the 13th all the way to the 20th centuries. The historic center includes the Old Town, as I mentioned, and this has townhouses, market square, and narrow medieval-style streets, along with the monumental royal castle and its surrounding castle square. There are also defensive remains, such as city walls and a gate. The Old Town Market Square, which is full of colorful tenement houses encircling a 13th century square, is at the heart of the city. Walk a few streets over, and you'll encounter St. John's Cathedral, cafes, shops, and more historic streetscapes that evoke centuries past. Castle Square stands just beyond, marked by the tall Sigismund's column and the grand royal castle, once the seat of Polish monarchs. Let me dive into the history a bit and some interesting facts about the site. I'll start off by saying, if you're a World War II history buff, or have a deep interest in learning about the Holocaust, this site will pique your interest. Warsaw's Old Town traces its roots back to the 13th to the 14th centuries, when it was granted town privileges and began to grow as a center of trade and culture. Over centuries, it evolved into a space with grand palaces, churches, and, again, becoming the seat of the monarchy after the royal castle became the residence of Polish rulers. Castle Square's Sigismund's Column, which was erected in 1644, is the oldest secular monument in Warsaw, commemorating the king who moved Poland's capital to Warsaw. Moving now to World War II, hundreds of years later, tragedy fell upon the city. The Historic Center of Warsaw was almost completely destroyed. Up to 85% of its buildings were leveled during the 1944 Warsaw Uprising. After the uprising, Nazi troops systematically destroyed the city, seeking to erase its heritage and identity. Yet, after the heartbreak and the war was brought to an end, Warsaw's citizens mounted an incredible campaign to rebuild. Between 1945 and 1951, using paintings, photographs, archival records, and any surviving architectural fragments, they reconstructed the old town's layout, homes, square, and even the royal complex. So, what you see today is almost a complete rebuild. Because much of the district was rebuilt after the war, some visitors argue it's not the original Old Town. Yet, Warsaw's restoration is widely considered one of the greatest achievements in urban conservation, period. Because of this history, walking through Warsaw's Old Town isn't just a journey into unbroken history. It's a physical testament to human resilience and the power of the collective. In 2011, the archive of the reconstruction itself was added to UNESCO's Memory of the World Register to signify its importance globally. Given its incredible cultivation of science, education, and the arts all in one place, it's no wonder the city itself has produced some of the most important humans in history. From the acclaimed composer Chopin to Irina Sendler, famously known for smuggling Jewish children out of the ghetto to prevent them from being sent to concentration camps. Now that I've covered a bit of the history, I'll move on to covering the logistics and travel tips to help make planning your trip a bit easier. I've also included links to different hotel options, transportation, and even tour suggestions that hopefully you'll find helpful. If you're flying in from another country, you'll want to fly into Warsaw Chopin Airport, which connects to many major European cities. From there, it's a short tram, bus, rideshare, or taxi ride to the city center. Once in the center, you'll find that Old Town is very walkable. Because the historic center is an open, urban district, visiting streets, squares, castle courtyards, and seeing the historic walls is free and will definitely help your budget. Museums located inside the royal castle or other historic buildings may charge entrance fees, so you'll want to check individual site pricing and opening hours. Also, many stores and museums will be closed on most Sundays, so you may have to plan your excursions accordingly. You may be wondering what the best time of year is to visit. As always, you have to consider the weather and your personal preferences. Let's start with spring to early autumn. So think the months of April to September. The weather is quite lovely. Mild temperatures with an average high of 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Summer brings open-air cafes and the lively markets to life. In the winter, visits can be magical, especially because there tend to be smaller crowds, but the days are shorter and temperatures cold. It can get into the 30s, and that's degrees Fahrenheit. However, Warsaw's winter markets are an experience in themselves. They have stall after stall selling food, arts, crafts, homewares. You'll probably even experience traditional carolers. Ice skating is also popular that time of the year. Staying near the Old Town is ideal, whether you choose to stay in a hotel, bed and breakfast, or homestay, because you'll be steps away from all the major sites. I also want to mention that Polish is the official language. However, in touristy parts of the Old Town and city center, many people speak English, particularly in hotels and museums. So, some places worth checking out include the Royal Castle, the Warsaw Uprising Museum, and Royal Baths Park, which has gorgeous lakes and a monument to Chopin. If you're bringing the kids, there's the Copernicus Science Center, which is a more hands-on museum option. There are also some unique tours. Renting segways seems to be quite popular. While wandering the Old Town, you absolutely should indulge in the food. Some standouts include traditional Polish pierogi, which are dumplings filled with potato, cheese, onions, and meat. Potato pancakes are also fantastic. And, of course, kielbasa, which is a type of sausage. Sitting outdoors during the summer with a local beer while people watching is also a fun way to soak up the local culture and relax. In recent years, Warsaw has continued to blossom culturally. You'll find contemporary art galleries, music festivals, and a young population. They're truly redefining the city. I want to wrap up by discussing what the future looks like for the Historic Center of Warsaw. Maintaining a heritage site, like the Old Town, comes with a very specific challenge, as they try to balance the everyday life for residents with protecting the legacy of the city. As Warsaw evolves and grows, with new buildings and modern transportation, there is constant negotiation between preserving historic character and accommodating contemporary needs. Moving forward, the Historic Center continues to be maintained under city governance with regular monitoring of preservation efforts. Conservation is truly a living commitment to both honoring the history of a place and the future generations who will continue to live there. Walking through Warsaw's Old Town isn't just sightseeing. With each step, you bear witness to human determination and the power of memory. You're not just walking on cobblestones dating back to the Middle Ages. You're walking through a city rebuilt from the ashes. You might stop in a cafe and not even know you're standing on streets that were bombed until they turned to dust and rubble. You might gaze at colorful facades that were painstakingly reconstructed, brick by brick. You'll hear the echo of multiple languages throughout those narrow alleys, just as residents did centuries ago. Visiting Warsaw is a chance to reflect on how communities rise from devastation stronger than ever before. So whether you come for the history, the architecture, the food, or a combination of all three, the Historic Center of Warsaw has something for you. Thank you for listening to Global Treasures. Join me next time when I'll cover yet another one-of-a-kind World Heritage Site. Until then, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep treasuring the remarkable diversity of our world's heritage.